Hey everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United versus Nottingham Forest preview, but it's also, I'm afraid to say, a devastatingly concerning start to a Manchester United weekend. I mean, look, the season's been so exciting, hasn't it? It's been so exciting, and we've received a double blow that I don't think you really would have imagined in your worst nightmares when it comes to these last few weeks of the season. I mean, at the start of the week, we were sort of worrying about Rashford being out for a few weeks. Well, listen to this from David Ornstein, very good journalist in the UK. Lisandro Martinez is set to miss the rest of the season with a foot injury suffered in Man United's draw with Seville. Rafael Varane also has a foot injury that is still being assessed. However, there are concerns he may also miss the remainder of the campaign, although Manchester United hope that isn't the case. That Varane injury ain't a knock. SCT says, I can't speak. I can't see. I need to go to Specsavers or something. I don't want to read what I've read there. That is absolutely devastating. It's from David Ornstein. He's not a sensationalist journalist. There's no reason for him to be that. He's credible. He's a credible journalist. When he is putting it on a tweet, he wants to be pretty bloody certain that he's right. And the fact that Martinez is out for the season, we pretty much know that. It's a metatarsal injury. That's going to be 6 weeks. But the fact that Varane is in that as well, and let's not forget, Harry Maguire can't play against Brighton. He's suspended. So some might say that's a positive in normal circumstances, but we won't have Varane, we won't have Martinez, and we won't have Maguire against Brighton in the FA Cup semi-final because Maguire is suspended. So it's football. You know, there's worse things that can happen, but that is just why we need to buy a centre-back in the summer, why you need to get your Norwich scarves out, because the Glazers have caused all this. Of course they have. The squad hasn't been looked after for a long time, and it leaves us ridiculously weak. Now, we need Luke Shaw to be back. Somebody in the chat just said we need Luke Shaw to be back, but we're going to preview the Forest game, but you can't preview the Forest game without hitting the headline news from David Ornstein that Martinez and Varane could be out for the season. Martinez is basically out for the season. There's a fear that Varane will be as well. We wanted an update on Varane. It ain't looking good, bruv. You know, I would have been devastated. I was thinking about this just before I went live. I would have been devastated anyway if Martinez was fit and Varane was out for the season. I'd have been sat here miserable anyway. The fact that Varane is out as well, Martinez is out as well, I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't speak. I can't believe it. I can't breathe. I'm actually in shock, really. I think it's devastatingly bad luck for Ten Hag. It's devastatingly bad luck for the squad. And of course, it's devastatingly bad luck for the fans because people have got to step up, for Maguire and co. Forget practicing your interviews. This is now the time to step up. I'd say Phil Jones will have to pull out the pink boots for the rest of the season, says Dylan. Do you think Aaron Wan-Bissaka could do a job at centre-back with Delo at right-back, says Rory? Well, the mind boggles. I mean, realistically, Luke Shaw can play at left centre-back and Lindelof can play at right centre-back. You could do that against Brighton, and I think that has to be the aim. But Doel says we've got to call back Eric Bailly. I think that's the most logical thing I've heard. I don't know whether we can do it, but Marseille don't want to keep him anyway. I mean, even if Ten Hag doesn't want to use him, you've got to call him back. Call Tuanzebe back. I don't know where he is. Just call somebody back. We haven't got any centre-backs. I think Mengi might still be there, but we've got no centre-backs that can step into this scenario. And can I just say, is there any guarantee that Maguire and Lindelof are going to stay fit for the next 6 weeks as well? I mean, people moan about Maguire and Lindelof, but I mean, actually, there's a good chance one of them will get injured as well. So it's ridiculously bad luck. We knew this squad was quite thin. We also knew we were playing a ridiculous amount of games and injuries were going to happen. But that's the news from David Ornstein. Martinez looks like he's out for the season and Varane could be as well. So it's serious. It's very serious. What does that mean for our season? Well, there's no better place to start than the Forest game. We've never had the squad anyway to compete on all fronts. We should have sacrificed Europa, says Marvin. Marvin, I think we always spoke about that, didn't we? We always said we've got to sacrifice something because it's impossible to do it. But we're all geniuses in hindsight, aren't we? We spoke about this back in November. We said, look, Eric, you can't go for everything. The squad's not there. But then we did go for everything and everyone was like, this is amazing. We could win 3 trophies and get top 4. And ultimately, we've fallen at what was very obvious. This squad would disintegrate on volume of games, and that's what's happening. And people can say, well, the Martinez injury and the Varane injury is not because of volume of games. But have you ever thought about this? The more times someone throws an egg at you, the more chance you're going to get hit by an egg. The less times they throw it, the more chance you're going to avoid it. So just the volume of games increases the chances of injury. It's not necessarily fatigue. It's just the more games you play, the more chances there are you're going to get injured. We've not had the rotational options. I don't blame Eric. It's been a fantastic season to this point. I think we've got to look at what we can do now. The true value of the squad will be tested when Ten Hag said it's all about the squad. The true test of the team will be tested. We have to be brave, says Keenan. Well, looking at the Nottingham Forest game, and we'll talk about what happens for the rest of the season now, but let's talk about the Forest game. Obviously no Martinez, no Varane. We don't think Luke Shaw's fit. So we pretty much have a situation where I've picked this team. I've gone with De Gea in goal. I would put Delo at right back just simply to rotate. Do you want to play Wan-Bissaka twice in 3 days? If you can rotate. So I'd put Delo there. You can't rotate at left back, so Malacia's got to play. It's got to be Maguire and Lindelof. There's nobody else. Casemiro's got to play, but I would bring Fred in for a fresh pair of legs. I don't know what's wrong with Fred. I don't know why he's not playing games, but we need Fred. Bruno's got to play because he can't play on Thursday. Sancho's got to play because there's nobody else. Anthony's got to play. And I think up front, I've put Sabitzer because I wouldn't play Weghorst, and he's already hinted in the press conference, by the way, Ten Hag, that Martial can't be risked in the Forest game. He's very, 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 very wary of Martial getting injured, and he wants to wrap him up. So he's basically said that Martial can't start against Forest because he can't risk him. So Maguire's suspended for the Brighton FA Cup semi-final, Sean. He's not suspended for this. No Martial, says Rory. I think I've just explained it for you. Ten Hag basically said he can't risk Martial. So he might risk him, but I don't think he can. So Marvin, I'm with you. I'd go Sabitzer false 9. He's shown that he can win balls in the air. He's shown he can get in between the line. And he's got to start. So you've got to start Bruno. And I think you've got to bring Fred in for a bit of mobility. So I wouldn't trust Eriksen in this game. And I think this game's going to be really difficult, by the way. Nottingham Forest are fighting relegation. I was looking at their form. Everybody thinks it's a straightforward game. Away from home, they're tragic. They've lost, I think they've only won one game away from home. They've lost 11. They're crap away from home, but they're playing at home. Their home record is mid-table. They've scored more goals than Chelsea at home, which is actually not a great stat because Chelsea don't score many goals. But they've only lost 4 games at home this season. Now Leicester and Southampton have lost 11. So when you think about relegation form, Nottingham Forest's home form is not relegation form. It's their away form. So at home, they've only lost 4 at home. They've drawn 6. They've won 5. They're mid-table when it comes to goals conceded and goals scored. They've actually conceded less than Aston Villa have at home. So they're a good home side. And they're terrible away from home. So I think this is a dangerous game for Manchester United, and it's one where it's going to really be about energy, effort, and tenacity. And that's something I think that this United side lacks when we have certain people in the team. Casemiro, Bruno are so important in this game. There will be no Rashford. There will be no Martial. There will be no Maguire. There will be no Martinez, and there will be no Varane, and there will be no Luke Shaw. I'm looking at that team and I'm going, I'm worried because you've got Malacia, who's shown, he is not quite at that level yet. You've got Maguire and Lindelof, who I'm not going to say anything because I think everybody is quite scared of what can happen there. I think it's a really difficult game for us on Sunday, and it's a game that we need to win. We cannot open the door to the top 4 race. We're vulnerable. We are vulnerable. And we've got to show real character. Jadon Sancho, he's another player that's got to start, but do you trust him in a game like this? Anthony's got to deliver. So it's a really difficult game for us. On paper, we should win this game, and I'm hoping we're going to win it 2 or 3-0. But I think we're vulnerable. I think we're vulnerable defensively. And my biggest fear is, this is why we need these players to be in the right mindset. It's your time. This is what happens. Big players get injured. Bench players have a chance. It's your time. Everybody's behind you. Forget all the slander and he's not good enough about whoever, whether it's Lindelof, Maguire, Malacia, Sancho. I don't care. We've got to get behind this team because they've got to deliver. The problem is, I know it and you know it. those players have done this countless times this season and every other season. We know that mentally they're not in the right place. You know, they're going to look at the starting lineup and they're going to go, there's no Martinez, there's no Rashford, there's no Varane, there's no Luke Shaw, you know. And sometimes with this team, if you give them an excuse, they will down tools. So what I'm looking for in this game, and in some ways it could be the perfect game, because Forest are going to go for us on hard work. And we have got to match that. And if we do match that, I think we'll get the right result. But if we go into it like we did in the second half against Seville, we're going to struggle. That crowd, it will be like their cup final. This is like when you go to Fulham or somewhere and it's against United. And they need it. You know, it is a cup final because 3 points for them could be the boost that keeps them up. So it's going to be really difficult on Sunday. And we are vulnerable, you know. I'm just hoping that we can sort of do what we... It's not going to be pretty, but I sort of hope that we can do what we did in the Ollie days and really sort of... The football might not be pretty, like I say, but can we just protect our back four? Fred and Casemiro, can you protect the back four? Bruno, Sabitzer, Sancho, Anthony, can you provide the quality on the break? And I think we're just going to have to counter-attack. If I was Erik ten Hag, I don't know whether I'd say it to the players, but I'd certainly be saying it to my coaches. How many points have we got in the league at the moment? So let me just have a look. So if I look at... I probably can get it up on the tape. I can get it up on the screen for you. But if I look at that Man United side at the moment, I'm basically saying to my coaches, I'm saying, you know what we've got to do? It's very, very simple. We've just got to get over the line. It's like when you're winning a race by a big distance and you pull your hamstring and you can't run anymore and you're just looking at everybody closing up on you and you're trying to limp over the line. Formula One, you're winning by a lap, but there's 3 laps to go, you get a puncture. How do I look after that puncture and still get over the line first? Because we are potentially going to get caught. So I look at that league table and I go like this. I say to myself, well, look, Man United have got 56 points. There are still bloody 9 games to go. I wish there was 3 games to go. So we're 3 points ahead of Spurs with a game in hand. It is a concern. It is a concern because we're very weak now. We've got Chelsea to play at home. I think we've got to go away to Brighton. We've got Villa at home. Those sort of games I would normally fancy us in what would be quite a difficult game. But if I'm being honest, with that defence, I think anybody can score against us now. And I'm not saying that nobody couldn't score against us when we've got Varane and Martinez, but I think everybody will fancy... And again, this is nothing against Malacia or Lindelof or Maguire, but if I'm a centre-forward for Aston Villa, or I'm a centre-forward for Nottingham Forest, or I'm a centre-forward for Chelsea, I'm a lot more confident and therefore I'm more dangerous when I'm playing against that back four than I'm playing against Martinez and Varane. And that, it just, you know... And that's the mental game. And this is why it's so important that these players get the mental attitude right. Because we'll back them, we need to. But I think the team will feel we're weaker. And I think the opposition will feel we're weaker. And that's a double whammy, isn't it? So you drop because the team's mentality drops. And then the opposition's mentality goes up. I think every game becomes a real struggle for us now. And he's got to almost try and find a combination that works. Rory says it's so disappointing, that freak game last night, making joke about dildos when cruising. I know, it feels a long time ago, Rory. Off topic, Mark, I live on the Isle of Wight and today Haaland came all the way here just to buy fresh farmer's milk. He reckons it's his secret potion, says Sean. And I'm glad you called out the way Martinez was carried off with no care of injuring him more. They had momentum and there was nothing nice about what they did, says WJ Barrett. And sorry if you've covered this, but what's the injury status of Luke Shaw? We could go Shaw and Lindelof at centre-back, says Kevin. And wait, has something happened to Martial, says Adam. No, nothing's happened to Martial. It's just that Erik ten Hag, if you watch the press conference at lunchtime, he said he can't risk Martial in this game. He can't do it. Pancake says, are you playing a poker game tonight? I am. Live on Twitch, 9:15, we're playing a game of poker. If you want to play or watch it, I'll give you the link in a bit. But can I just say as well, I mean, it is a Friday night show, so we can wander around a little bit. But let me just say this. I said on the morning show, and I put a tweet out saying that those 2 Sevilla players that carried Martinez off are bang out of order, and they should have, a Man United player should have stopped it. I got a lot of stick on Twitter saying they're Argentinian teammates and they care about him. Oh, I couldn't give a shit if they live with him. I couldn't give a shit if they live with him. You're telling me they've just scored a goal, Martinez goes down injured, and they're picking him up and carrying him off the pitch because they love him and they're all Argentinian? Piss off. What if he's done his knee? What if he's done his ankle? They've got no medical training at all. They shouldn't be touching him. And if I'm a Man United player, I'm saying take your fucking hands off him. I don't care whether you're his mate or whether you think you're doing a good job. Put him down. He is injured with something that's quite serious. What are you doing picking him up? We're not in the 70s. Put him down and go and worry somewhere else. I don't agree with all this Argentinian teammate bullshit. Ultimately, that was about getting him off the pitch to keep the momentum. They wanted him off the pitch quick so they could keep the momentum going. They didn't want 3 or 4 minutes of Martinez lying there and the momentum going and United speaking to each other and sorting each other out. That was gamesmanship. It was very clever by Sevilla, but anybody who's falling for the whole, Argentinian teammates bollocks, I've played the game. And I would have done it as well if I was a Sevilla player. I'm not joking. I would have helped pick him up and took him off anyway. And I would have been there. I love you. But the reality is, that was about momentum for Sevilla. They were trying to keep the momentum going, and therefore they picked him up and took him off the pitch. He's got a bad injury. He shouldn't be being picked up anyway. So I think I was disappointed there was no United player rushing in and saying, put him down, leave him alone. It's ridiculous. When do you ever see opposition players picking a player up and carrying him off the pitch? You don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. We've seen people with head injuries, broken legs, twisted ankles. They're allowed to lie on the pitch and receive treatment. I thought it was bang out of order, but some people seem to think they should get the Nobel Peace Prize or the Friendship Award. I thought it was nonsense. I'm not doing a Dublin accent, Luna. I don't know why you keep asking. Mark, what else would you think about Bruno playing as a false nine as he did against Leeds last year? Look, whether it's Bruno or Sabitzer, as I said, for me, I would 100% do that. It's very, very, very unlikely that Martial will start the game because Ten Hag, quite rightly, is worried about him and the risk of overplaying him, and it would be 2 games in 3 days. I think Martial will come on as a sub. So therefore, I would play, as I've said on the screen here, I would play Savitzer as the false 9 or Bruno as the false 9. I mean, look, I don't know whether anybody's seen it. There's a video that's gone out as a short on the channel where Beth says that Weghorst is the worst Man United striker ever. I wouldn't go that far, but I don't think he should be starting in games like this, in my humble opinion. Glenny Boy says, Mark, do you think all the dodgy cards is causing Casemiro to play within himself with less confidence? Says Glenny. Well, it's like I think when you look at why Casemiro got sent off against Crystal Palace, it was for sticking up for Anthony. Maybe he doesn't want to get involved in them situations anymore. We're only very lucky that Liverpool and Chelsea had a huge drop-off this season. Otherwise, we're just top 6. It's a hard truth, says GJ. Look, there's a massive frustration in me. If you've tuned in a little bit late, it looks like Martinez is out for the season and Varane, according to David Ornstein. There's a very big chance that both of them could be out for the season. It's frustrating because you get called a moaner, but really you're a realist. I'm not an optimist when it comes to this season. I've always been a realist. I wasn't optimistic about top 4 or a trophy at the start of the season because I didn't see that we had the squad to do it. Things have happened that have allowed that to happen. Ten Hag's done a fantastic job, and as you say, Liverpool and Chelsea have fell off, and it's given us an opportunity. We've won the Carabao Cup. I think that's a great thing to win a trophy. In January, I wasn't optimistic. I was like, where are the signings? Sabitzer was brought in to replace an injured Eriksen. We needed a midfielder and a striker anyway. And ultimately, I'm sat here very disappointed tonight that we are decimated at centre-back. But then you look at it and you go, I'm not surprised. I'm actually not surprised because we all feared this. We haven't got the squad to play 60 games. We just haven't got it. And it's come to hurt us. Any shows here in Dublin via United Stand or That's Football within the next year? I was raging I missed the last show. Keep your eyes out, Luna. Keep your eyes out. They could be coming very soon. Anyway, I haven't done my score prediction for Nottingham Forest. I'm actually going to go conservative here and not be overconfident. I've sort of had my fingers burnt after Sevilla. I said 2-0, could be 3 or 4-0, should have been. I'm actually going to go conservative in this and I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. I think it's going to be a really difficult game. And I'll say it now. If we beat Forest, I know a lot of people will go, it's only Forest. But their record at home's good. They're fighting for their life. We're vulnerable. I'd absolutely love a win. And there's a few people like Roxy and Frank saying it will be 2-1 to Manchester United. But I'm going to go with a draw. And then if we get the win, I will absolutely say, no matter who plays, fantastic result, lads. Because that's what it's about now. We haven't got the cover to start going, I'm Team Maguire, I'm Team Lindelof. You know, we're Team both. It doesn't matter who you think should play. If Varane's injured, Maguire or Lindelof, they're both playing. So I can't be bothered with whether I think Maguire should be sold, whether Lindelof should be number one centre-back ahead of him, you know, whether Malacia is good enough. It doesn't matter. That they're what we've got, and we need them to deliver. And I'm 100% behind them. I'll tell you what I think when everybody's fit, but we haven't got everybody fit. We need Maguire absolutely on it. We need Lindelof on it. We need them to step up. And if they do, they'll get the praise because we've got nobody else. It's an opportunity and we need them to step up. I can't say any more than that. Am I concerned? Yes, I'm very concerned. So I'm going to go with a draw. Could we play Sabitzer, Fred, Casemiro in a midfield three and Bruno as the false nine? Well, we could do, Anthony. I mean, I've gone with Sabitzer as the false nine there, but I don't care how we do it, as long as Weghorst starts. And as I said, the only reason I've not put Martial in there is because Ten Hag said in the press conference that he doesn't want to risk him in this game. He might risk him for the first half and take him off. He might start him from the bench. But I think, you know, to be honest, I think a lot of you wouldn't start Jadon Sancho, but tell me an alternative. We don't have one. We need Garnacho back ASAP. There's talk of Rashford being back, of course. So, look, you know, we just need to find a way to win, because I think every game's going to be difficult now. What I would, and I want to just talk about this as well. Make sure you smash a like on the video, of course. I want to talk about this as well. A few people, it's Friday night, so get your chats in. We'll read them out. Make sure you smash a like on the video, of course. Is the season over? Is a lot of people are saying we're screwed. The season's over. So I want to move on to that now. We've previewed the game. I don't think the season's over. I still think we should get top four. I still think with Maguire and Lindelof, we're better than Spurs. So look, what I will acknowledge is every game's a battle now. And I think every game's a battle for Spurs. Like, I think if Spurs are playing Southampton away, that's a battle for them. Even though for Man City it's an easy ride. I think Spurs, every game for them is a battle. And they've got some good players and they've got some not so good players. I think for us, we're like Spurs now. Every game becomes a battle. And we've got to have a battle. And we've got to be mentally strong. I think before the injuries to Martinez and Varane, I think we had a team where it's not a battle. You know, it would be shocking if we didn't get top four because we've got the quality. I think we've just lost two massive players that provide a platform in our spine, and I think we're weaker. I think we still will get top four, but I think every game we go into, whether it's Forest away or Villa at home or Brighton in the Cup or Seville away next week, I don't think I can sit here anymore and go, yeah, United are going to win 2-0. I think we've just lost the advantage. I just think we've lost that quality. In some ways, it's interesting. In other ways, it's actually really frustrating. But I still think we can do it. I just think it's going to be a battle to do it. And when it's a battle, you're flipping a coin. So I don't think we can win the FA Cup, the Europa League, and get top four. So I think you've got to look at it and go, reality, I've got a funny feeling we'll go out of Europe on Thursday night. I think we'll get top four, and the FA Cup is going to be very, very difficult if we've got to play Man City in the final, and also Brighton will be very difficult. So I think at this point, I'd almost say top four in a Carabao Cup might be what we do, but we might do better than that, and that's down for the players to do it. But it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be a battle. Absolutely, top four Carabao Cup, that's it. I'm sad I wanted more after Wembley celebration, says Sulai. But I think it was logical to expect more then, because I think we had a team that was capable of more then. But unfortunately, we've been decimated in centre-back. And as I say, whatever you think about Maguire and Lindelof, if one of them get injured, there's nobody else. Mark, what would you think about? I've done that false nine as he did against Leeds, says Harrison. Last minute, he could provide some goals, says Bruno. Yeah, I don't mind whether it's Bruno or Sabitzer false nine, as I say. Is there any news about Luke Shaw's return? Hope you're doing well. Well, Luke Shaw should be back soon, BD. He should be back very, very soon. But we don't know when. And obviously, I don't think you want to rush a player back. It's the same with Marcus Rashford, isn't it? You don't want to be rushing these players back. But look, you know, I think that if, as I say, every game we've lost the initiative. It becomes a battle now. I think the confidence for me it's really difficult now. There's a Varane update officially coming in, so let me just get this for you because Rafael Varane is expected to be out for a few weeks. That's coming in from Martinez has been ruled out for the remainder of the season after fracturing a bone in his foot. So Martinez is officially out for the season, and it looks like Varane is out for a few weeks as well. Unfortunately, at this stage of the season, we've all been here. I remember the treble. You get to this point of the season and a few weeks, whether it's 4 weeks or 8 weeks, by the time Varane's back, everything will be gone. We either will be in a cup final or we won't. We'll either be in a Europa League cup final or we won't. And we've got to do it without them. So, look, it's horrible for Martinez because if you get to a Europa League final, he deserves to play in it, but he won't. Same thing happened to us under Mourinho, didn't it? We lost Zlatan, Eric Bailly, and Luke Shaw, didn't we, for the Europa League final? It can happen. Jordan, welcome to the Members Club. These things can happen. It's not unheard of. It's very unlucky, but these things can happen, and that's why you need a squad. And that's why when people say what I would describe as naive things like we need Harry Kane and we'll win the league next year, I hope you've learnt your lesson. We don't need Harry Kane to win the league next year. We need Harry Kane, a striker. We need a striker. We need a midfielder, and we need a centre-back. We don't need Harry Kane because you're thinking that your first team's going to stay fit all season. If we had Harry Kane now, we'd still be crying about what's happened at centre-back. You need what Man City have got. You lose a player, or PSG, or Bayern Munich, or Real Madrid, you lose a couple of key players, but you bring a couple of good quality players in, and that's where we're struggling. But that was never going to happen in one season. And as I said, the thing we need to galvanise ourselves with as fans is we need to get behind this team. And I'll be getting behind the team on Sunday. I always do. If Maguire scores a hat-trick with his head, doesn't change what I think about him in the summer or what I've thought about him for the last 3 years. But I'll be like, get in there, Harry, because it's about the badge on the shirt. It's about, in adversity can become big wins. And we have got our backs against the wall. We have took a mental battering last night. Own goals, bad performances, injuries, hitting the post. It was a hard thing last night, and we need to bounce back. Why was Huddleston in training, in your opinion, says Tim? Well, if Tom Huddleston's in training and he's about to be considered for the first team, get the Norwich scarves out because that's disgusting. And it's not Huddleston's fault. He's been brought in as a coach. If Tom Huddleston is going to be on our bench or play minutes for Man United, he was never good enough to play for Man United when he was in his 20s. So if we're thinking about using him, it just shows and amplifies what I've just said there. The squad is not good enough. Do you think United can beat City in the FA Cup final, be focused on the Champions League and EPL, keep up the great work? Ryle, great point. I'd rather play Shaw and Casemiro at centre-back and a midfield of Sabitzer, Bruno and Eriksen at this point. Next week is make or break, says DK. And sorry if I missed this, but do you worry about Maguire being captain on the pitch now instead of Bruno? But Dean, I think Bruno's the captain anyway. I think we saw that yesterday and we saw it against Everton. When Maguire and Bruno are on the pitch, it's Bruno who's got the biggest influence. And when Bruno went off, we lost leadership. Look at Arsenal. They always have 90% of their squad available. Do you think the medical and fitness staff is bad, says Mohammed? Well, traditionally, Man United's medical staff has been abysmal. If it's still abysmal, is up for discussion. I haven't really had to talk about it for a while, but it has been traditionally very, very bad. Can't we tear up Maguire's contract, says Mbappe James? We need him. But look, I think the focus has shifted, and it will take you a little bit of time as a fan to get into the new world. I'm adjusting to it as well. I think yesterday morning, I was looking at this team and saying we can beat anybody on our day and we could win the FA Cup, the Europa League and get top 4. I think tonight I'm going, right, we are vulnerable. We're going to have to battle and every game is a flip of the coin. We can beat Brighton in the Cup, but they've got a much better chance than they did yesterday. We can get top 4, but it's harder than it was yesterday. We can win the Europa League, but but it's going to be a lot harder than it was yesterday. Everything is a lot more difficult now. Don't rate them, but I think we should recall Bailly and Twansebi just to help with the workload. I would. If there's a possibility, Leo J, I would do it. Mandy says, I think just from the first half last night, we actually saw the potential in Sabitzer and what he can bring if we keep him. I like him, says Mandy. Thanks, Mandy. I like the positivity. Phil Jones is starting, says Mohammed. Look, I said it this morning. I don't know whether people are trolling me, but Phil Jones isn't even fit. So I don't know how Phil Jones can be used. I suppose one big question that keeps coming up in the chat is, should we prioritise a tournament? And my honest answer is, and I'm gonna run a poll on this, should we prioritise the league now? And what I mean by that is, should we basically play the reserves against Seville? Is it time to go, we're screwed, we can't afford any more injuries, let's just focus on top four? Bit like what Arsenal did in the Europa League. You actually change your goalkeeper, you change half your first team, and you just see what happens. Now, should we prioritise top four and not go strong in the Europa League? You know what? I understand it. No, because what if we collapse in the league? What if we lose to Forest? What if we lose to Villa? What if we collapse in the league and we can't get any momentum back, but we get through to the semi-finals? We're only 3 wins away, and you don't have to win them all, from the Champions League anyway. I don't think we can. I wouldn't prioritise now. I think the chance to do that is gone. We've paid, we've done it now. We've committed to going for it. I think you've got to stay the course, because ultimately, as we said, every game now, it's like a flip of the coin, isn't it? Will we beat Forest? We've done it, 2-1. Okay, will we beat Seville? That's going to be a battle. Yeah, we've done it. Well done. Right, Brighton now. Let's flip the coin. We're out. Okay, we're out of that. But every game becomes a flip of the coin for me now. I don't think I can predict any game this season where I'm going to go, oh yeah, we'll win that 2 or 3-0. So I think we've just got to go for it. Can we beat Man City in an FA Cup final? I think with Maguire and Lindelof at centre-back, it would be very difficult because they'll just camp on the edge of our box. They'll play the little intricate passes and we'll struggle. But you never know. We did it with Ollie. You never know. Can we win the Europa League with, no Martinez and Varane? I don't think it's possible, but then again, why not? Can we get top 4? I think there's enough points there where if we can get to 70 points, I don't think anyone else will. We've got 17 points to get from the last 9 games. It's difficult, but I don't think anyone's getting 70 points apart from us or Newcastle. So it's about just getting the points, isn't it? Mark, we must try to win the FA Cup. City are on a treble. Can't have them do it. Well, Mojo, I didn't want to say that, but the whole City treble thing this week is just, the odds have tumbled, haven't they? We're weak. Can we stop them in the FA Cup? They're already up against Bayern, and they've got the advantage over Arsenal. It becomes difficult, doesn't it? Hi, Mark. Do you think we should recall Tellez too? If we can't recall Bay, Shaw can play centre-back and Malacia starts and Tellez gives us an option, says George. I don't know, and I've not heard anything, but I'm telling you now, Eric Bailly is no worse than Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof. In my book, he's no worse. I'm not saying he's bloody prime Maldini, but I don't think he's any worse than those two, and he offers some pace. So we've got no... I just think if it's possible, you recall Eric Bailly. You're selling him in the summer anyway. I mean, in a way, you're putting him in the shop window because you have to, but I don't see any reason not to bring him back unless we can't. Sometimes, in a loan, you actually can't do it. So, as Ten Hag would say, next game is most important. We should always try to win our next game no matter what. Have that attitude and see where we end up, says Nick. Look, the unthinkable situation is that we don't win another trophy and we end up in 5th. And then we're back in the Europa League. That's what we're fighting for here. I think I get it. I get the shock. I get the frustration. I get the disappointment. But at some point in life, you fell off the horse, you bust your teeth, but you've got to get back on the horse and you've got to continue your journey. Unless you've got a car. And we haven't. We've only got a Norwich scarf. So there's no car in the garage, just a Norwich scarf in the garage. So get the Norwich scarf on, get back on the horse, and let's finish the journey. And that's what we've got to do. We can't, and that's what the players have got to do. And that's what the fans have got to do. And that's what Ten Hag's going to do. We have been dealt a really unlucky hand over the last 24 hours. And it is going to be really difficult. It's time to roll your sleeves up and fight. I'm behind these players, whoever they are. You know, I'm behind them. Let's get on with it. 100%. 100%. Let's go for it. I think Harry Maguire was just ringing me up. Do you think Glazers stalling the sale will affect the summer, says Mohammed? Well, we've already spoken about that, Mohammed, but 100%, yeah. Varane's out for a few weeks. This is so depressing, says Anthony. In a way, that's a positive, though, because David Ornstein at the start of the show said that Varane could be out for the season. So, look, if Varane can get back, it's a positive. I mean, look, worst case scenario, we get knocked out the Europa League, we get knocked out the FA Cup, we start to struggle in the league. You know, we're 3 points off top 4 with a couple of games to go. Varane comes back, we win our last 2, we get top 4. I know, but there are many permutations, there are many scenarios to discuss. Shaheen says, recalling players from loan sometimes ruin your relationships and reputation with other clubs. You need that to keep making deals with them in the future, says Shaheen. Yeah, I agree. I think, if I'm being honest, and it's just pure speculation, do I think we will call anybody from loan? No, I don't. I don't think we will, because I think what he will do is he will go, I've got Maguire, I've got Lindelof, Scott McTominay and Casemiro could cover centre back if I'm really desperate. Luke Shaw can play centre back as well. It's funny, a lot of people are saying they're blaming Adam for that Maguire question. That jinxed Varane and Martinez. You know, I think that's very unfair. Very unfair. Cameron says, I'm so happy that you did that video on That's Football on the referees. 100%. Mate, basically, I was driving over to Worcester today and I had Talk Sport on. And I'm not a fan of Martin Keown. And he was the only one saying that the linesman not getting a ban is ridiculous. Everyone was calling in. They were all saying you've got to respect the FA. And I was like, fair play to Martin Keown, because the FA and the Referees Association have been a disgrace this season to Brighton, Arsenal, everybody, and us. And I just thought, you know what? They've done exactly what they do all the time. Protect their own and pretend something didn't happen. And I'm not saying throw the book at that linesman, but if a player gets touched on the arm and shrugs it off and catches someone in the face, they're getting a red card. Threefold Path, if you could recall through the players, they can't be registered to play outside of a transfer window, says Threefold Path. I don't know the technicalities of it. I don't know. Eric Bailly wouldn't be able to play in the Europa League. I think that's absolutely nailed on. But I don't think we will recall anybody anyway. Mark, says Leo, I wanted to ask you, do you think Chelsea can get Osman without Champions League? Because I can't see him going there without it. Leo, we got Paul Pogba without the Champions League. It can be done. It can be done. And ultimately, if Chelsea are the only horse in the race and he wants to get on a horse, he'll get on the Chelsea horse. It's as simple as that. Justin, slow sports news from Justin. He says, United statement confirming Martinez and Varane are out for a few weeks. Thank you very much, Justin, for that. We already knew, of course. It's a funny one, isn't it? And I suppose, in an odd way, this is the obsession with football, isn't it? This is what we're talking about. It's so unpredictable. I was talking to somebody today and they were like, oh, I can't believe the game last night. I was watching your watch along. What are your thoughts? And I said, this is the thing about football. We can all pontificate and predict what's going to happen. We're 2-0 up. I'd predicted 2-0. I didn't think Seville could score. I thought for us it was about getting the third goal. And then 20 minutes later you're sat there going, we've lost our 2 centre-backs. We've conceded 2 own goals. And our season is crumbling. Football can just go like that, and unfortunately, you know, we've been hit quite badly recently, but we've also had a good season, and I think it's really important, and I think Erik ten Hag will be at pains to say this as well. It's really important that we focus on the positives, because we have had what I would describe as a kick in the nuts, and we've got to try and be positive, because, you know, talking about Adam, he was saying last night, second half, when Varane went off and Maguire came on, it wasn't that people were booing and it wasn't that people don't like Maguire, because Adam obviously does. But you could sense in the crowd there was just a hesitation now. You know, it's not the same. And then when the subs happened, he was saying it got even worse. It was like, why is Bruno going off? Why is Martial coming off? Not because anybody was questioning what Ten Hag did. You know, he deserves the right to be respected. But it was just everybody knew we were weaker and we weren't playing well. And the fans feed off that. And the players feed off it as well. They're only human. So I think our biggest is, look, when we play Forest on Sunday, are they better than Man United? No. They're in a relegation battle. How are they going to win on Sunday? Crowd and effort and desire. Underdog mentality and the crowd behind them. That's what makes them dangerous. So Manchester United, what we've got to do is go, we're better than Forest. We're still better than Seville. But we're weaker than we were. How do we win these games? We win these games on the same way they're going to try and beat us. They're not as good as us, but they're going to do it on teamwork, mentality, hard work, and, you know, dedication. And the crowd are going to back us. And that's what we've got to do. I know we're away for the next 2 games, but Wembley after that, all the other home games, our away support's fantastic. We've got to fight. You know, we can't rely on ability. We've got to fight. And that's what we've got to do. While Erik Ten Hag has the ability to get this team top 4, if United miss out, it's all down to the mismanagement of the Glazers, says Stephen. I suppose my calmness about United getting top 4 comes from my belief in Casemiro, Bruno, Sabitzer and Eriksen. Well, look, Nick, we're still very strong in the midfield. What would you think about Bruno playing as a false 9? We've done that from Harrison. And do we have any decent defenders in the academy who are ready to step up, says Mojo? I mean, it's a big ask to do that. When are we going to play in... Show Speed says, Mark, when are we going to play in FIFA? I'll play at FIFA. I'll batter you, mate, as I've done many a time. I think that's what he's talking about. And Mark, does a new centre-back go to second on the list in the summer after this, says Leo J? Yeah, I think it has to, because Varane is injury-prone. I love Varane, but he's injury-prone. And you're only ever a Martinez injury away from this. In some ways, you could say it strengthens Maguire and Lindelof's ability to stay, but we need to buy better than that. Why is there no black or Asian referees? Is it an old white boy Brexit club and they all vote Tories? Some Syrian investigation is due, says Muzzy. I've never, you know what? Fair play. I've never thought of it like that before. We used to have a black referee, Uriah Rennie, but you're right. I mean, we don't get. It's a very, very, very good point on a Friday night to mention, because actually, if you live in the UK and you watch football, is there a fair representation of diversity in referees and linesmen? No, there isn't. I mean, we're not here to discuss why that is, but you do make a good point, and I acknowledge it. We've been to a Europa League final with Ollie and Magaluf before. We have a better coach and some actual winners in the team. We can get there and win it. Brandon, we can, and I like that mentality. But what we've got to do is do it on hard work. And look, the football might not be pretty. I think we almost need to play like we did under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Show Speed saying, just call me on Discord when you want to play. Well, I can't do it tonight, mate, but I will certainly consider that, and I would have done it tonight, but unfortunately, and I'm not ducking it, everybody probably knows, I'm on live on Twitch in a minute, and I'm going to be playing poker. So if you want to join me on my Twitch, I will give you all the details for that. But let me just give you my Twitch link in the page, and you can join me over there. I'm going to be live just after 9 o'clock. It's Goldbridge Poker Night, so you're very much welcome to join or watch and play. There's a bounty on my head for that, apparently. So join me over there. It's a shame, actually, because I would like to have beaten Speed at FIFA. It's always an enjoyable thing to do. But I can't do it tonight. We've just had a gifted memberships by Mojo of 10, who is a legend. Thank you very much for that, Mojo. Can anyone honestly say we play good football anyway, says Robert McCormack? Well, I think you might be onto something there, I suppose. Just by the way, as well, I have pinned it in the chat. I know Martinez is injured now, but this is I wouldn't say it's a tribute to him. He's a bloody brilliant player, but I wore mine tonight in support for Martinez. We do ship these worldwide if you want to get one. Links in the video description as well. But look, I've got to go and set up for the poker tournament, so I'm going to stop 10 minutes early. But if you want to join me and you've got nothing to do on a Friday night, or you just want a bit of fun, because it will be funny. I've not played poker in ages, and I have got a bounty on my head, so we'll see how long I last. I'm going to be on Twitch in about 10 minutes. Thanks everyone for watching tonight. I could do with some escapism as well and a beer, so I'll see you on Twitch if you're going to tune in. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on the video, and speak to you in a bit.